We are ready to go. Tonight, our topic is supporting your child's mental health. My name is Alysia Rich, and I am a family engagement consultant for the Andover Schools. I was in the classroom for almost 20 years before leaving and starting my own business as a consultant. So I have lots of experience in elementary schools and am just excited to share with you tonight. In order to prepare for this presentation, I spoke with teachers at different grade levels, spoke with counselors at the elementary, middle, and high school level as well. So hopefully you'll get a wide variety of information that'll fit the age of any of your children. There we go. So why are we discussing mental health? We all know that it has kind of been a hot topic out there in wherever out there is, right? In social media, and we hear about it in the news. And so why are we taking time tonight to discuss this topic? And first and foremost, I feel like it's because of feedback that we have been receiving. So I put out a survey a while ago with clients that I serve and with my network and asked, what are you most interested in knowing about how your child is doing in school? And my question specifically targeted conference time, report card time, when you're going and meeting with teachers. What is it that you wish the teacher would talk about that maybe he or she doesn't? Or what do you anticipate they're going to talk about? What questions do you typically have? And I was blown away by the responses that I got. Almost all of the responses said, we're happy to hear about academics. Yes, we know that that's important, but what we really want to know is how our kid's doing. Is our kid the nice kid? Does she have friends? Is he helpful and kind to people around him and to his teachers? What do you see in behavior and in friendships and in the way they interact with their peers? Those were all of the questions that parents were wondering. And that tells me that parents are very in tune with their child's social well-being, with their emotional well-being, and that all falls under that umbrella of mental health. And then also we're getting a lot of teacher feedback. We all know the last couple of years have been crazy for all of us, and for our kids especially. Young people have sometimes a more difficult time processing change or uncertainty. And if anything, the last couple of years have been uncertain for them. So we are hearing from teachers that this is a topic that is becoming more and more important to address both in and outside of the classroom. So with that being said, let's get on the same page. So what exactly is mental health? And why does it matter? Why does it matter to us as parents? Why do we need to worry about it in our kids? And I don't mean worry like in a negative connotation, just why is it something that needs to be on our mind? So the definition of mental health is a person's condition with regard to psychological, emotional, and social well-being. So that's a huge umbrella, right? Mental health affects, and I've got this list here, it affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. That's all happening at the same time, right? Kind of that process of we have a thought, we have a feeling, we react to it. It affects our decision-making. It affects the way we interact with others, how we can make choices, whether they're small choices or big choices. It's going to impact all of that. Our mental health impacts how we handle stress and even impacts our physical health. So good mental health is extremely important for the development and well-being of every child, regardless of age, because it's going to allow children to be able to deal with challenges. If they have a real strong, positive mental health, they're going to be able to deal with challenges. And think about that in relation to physical health. If you have a strong physical health, you're in good shape physically, you can take on physical challenges easier than someone who is not in good shape. That's going to be exactly the same when we're talking about emotional or social challenges that come up against our children. If they have strong mental health, they can handle those better. They're going to be able to adapt to change easier than children who struggle with their mental health. they're going to feel better about themselves. It's going to give them a better positive self-esteem, and it will allow them to build healthy relationships, which is so critical in all stages of development for children. So knowing what it is and why it really matters for our kids, most of what we're going to focus on tonight is being proactive. So thinking about what it looks like at different ages, what we might need to be, have on our radar as parents to make sure that we are caring for our kids well. And I've got some suggestions for you about different things we can do to connect with different types of kids. And then a little bit about how we as parents and families can connect with our child's school in the area of their mental health. So that's kind of our path for tonight. So mental health looks a little bit different depending on the age of child that you're talking about. So let's begin with elementary school. And again, that's a wide range, right? We're talking from in elementary school, you might have the pre-K classroom all the way up to 5th grade. And so you've got 5-year-olds up through 11-year-olds. Lots of development and changes are happening in that time, but I'm going to speak in some generalities. In general, elementary age children who have good positive mental health are able to regulate emotions on a fairly consistent basis. And an example of that might be that if a child experiences maybe the loss of a pet, a family pet, or a friend moves away, something that's sad, that's going to impact them, they're able to walk through the emotion. They're able to identify how they feel, talk about that, and then move through that grief or that loss process and continue on the other side. A child who maybe struggles with mental health is going to have a harder time regulating their emotions. So it may be that a year or two down the road, they're upset at someone in class and, have maybe a bit of a blow up and they seem angry, and you begin to talk to them and they begin to say, well, when my dog died, when I was in 1st grade, I was just so sad. And you can tell they haven't been able to really walk through that. They're holding on to that for what we'd consider, not a reasonable length of time. And there's no set time on that because every person and child's going to walk through that type of thing differently, right? But in general, they're able to regulate their emotions. They're able to feel sadness or happiness and then move into that next situation, feel a new emotion, and not continue to be attached to whatever happened back here to the point that it's impeding their growth or progress. Elementary school students with good mental health also have strong peer relationships. They have friends. It does not mean that the child who loves to have some alone, quiet time at recess doesn't have good, strong mental health. It may mean that that child really does. They know what they need to fill their own bucket, right? And they need some downtime at recess. Or it doesn't mean that the child that has, one really good friend is struggling because they don't have a bunch of friends. Again, that's going to look different depending on your child, but you want to look for good, positive peer relationships. Even if they're not strong friendships, are they able to interact in a positive way with children their own age? Are they able to get along and work in groups with other children? Can they listen when someone else is talking or sharing an idea? Can they share their own ideas and feel confident doing that? So those are some examples of what we would look for in good peer relationships. As we move into middle school and high school, we've all been there. We know that this stage in life has its ups and downs, right? It's not emotionally as easy as walking through elementary school. So it can become a little harder as parents to really pinpoint how our kids are doing. It's common for kids as they move into middle school and high school to talk to us less than they were before. Their worlds are expanding. There are other adults in their lives who become influential. So they may have a coach that they really connect with. They may have, youth leaders at church or some teachers at school, somebody in an organization that they volunteer with. I mean, as their world gets bigger and they're involved in more things, they have more interaction with adults who can potentially be really great role models and influences for them. But what that means for us as parents is they may be sharing a little bit less with us. They're also spending less time with us than they were when they were little and they were with us all the time, right? We had those days where we felt like we were never going to escape from them. And then, I feel like we blink and all of a sudden I wonder how long it's been since I've seen my 14-year-old as she's going to practice and games and going here and there, right? So what we want to look for in general, good mental health for this age, adolescence, is being able to experience normal daily life, have normal reactions. Yes, they're going to have emotion. Yes, they're going to have highs and lows. We look at it and we think, man, that, friend group, they're awfully dramatic. And it may feel dramatic to us. To them, it feels like normal life, but are they able to process through that fight they had with their friend or the conflict that arose in their peer group and then move through that? And I love the example at the bottom. This was given to me by one of the counselors. She was talking about this, and I thought, oh, we definitely need a visual image. So she said, normal processing of emotion and looking at strong mental health, an adolescent's day is going to go like this. There's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to always be smooth sailing, just like it's not for us as adults, but they're able to kind of move through and manage those ebbs and flows. For a child who might be struggling with their mental health, we're looking at more of a roller coaster where the highs are really high and the lows feel really low. And maybe that's happening more frequently and seemingly over smaller circumstances or situations. So that's something to keep in mind too. Our kids are at this age, they're going to ride a roller coaster, but we want them to ride like the kiddie one, right? We don't want them to ride the really big ones. Looking at their friendships are critical in this age group. And I cannot tell you enough, this links right to that bottom bullet, that parental involvement matters. It is so important at this age. We need to know our kids' friends. We need to know who they are, what they do, invite them over, make your house the house where kids want to hang out. If they're hanging out at another house, reach out to the parents, get to know them. What's their family like? Can you go and do things together and connect? The more connected we are as parents to what is happening in our kids' social lives, the better we are to have, our finger on the pulse of what's going on in life for them. This doesn't mean that we need to be following them everywhere and not give them any freedom, but we need to be involved and know what's going on. The more we are involved and know their friends, the easier it becomes to then have conversation with them. Hey, how's Jenny doing? Last week when she was over here, she was studying for that really big math test and had said she was nervous. Like, how'd she do on that? Have you asked her? Or, if John was going to try out for the football team, what have you heard? Did he make it? Let him, or if practice at tryouts haven't come, let him know I'm rooting him on. I really hope he makes the team. Just things like that so that they know, hey, we're listening to them. We care about the things they want to share with us. We care about the people that they care about. That goes a long way. And we may not hear that from our kids. They're probably not going to come out and say, man, mom and dad, I'm so grateful that you care about my friends, but they're going to feel that. And it's going to come through in the way that they interact with us. So our big question always is, okay, so we know this, we know what it is, we know how it looks at these different ages. Now, what do I do as a parent? How do I support my child? How do I make sure that they're getting what they need from home? These are just a few really general ideas, and then we're going to dig into some specifics in a moment. So it's our job as parents to establish routines in our home. And this applies for all age groups. And if you want some more information about that, there is a family talk that we did earlier in the fall on building positive habits. And I would highly encourage you to go and check that out, because sleep and a routine of good, consistent sleep is so important. We know that, if we have a couple nights where our sleep is off, we don't sleep well, we get tired, we're tired, and then we get cranky, we're a little grumpy to the people around us. Maybe we say things like, might be a good idea to stay away from me today. Well, a lot of times our kids don't have that luxury, right? They don't work at a job where they can close the office door, or they can do a meeting on Zoom and keep some distance from people if they're, having a bad day. They have to be with their class and their peers. They have to be with their teacher and be able to interact. So sleep is so important. That might look different depending on your child. Even within your household, that may look different for your different children. Um, and especially, from home to home, that might be different, but whatever that routine is, make sure that it's clear and it's consistent so that they're getting the rest that they need. Physical activity is also really important. And it's recommended that for kids pretty much in this school age that we're talking about an hour of physical activity playtime a day. So if we have kids that are active in sports, that's going to come fairly easily on nights that they have practices and games and things like that. For kids who aren't involved in an organized sport or don't have a consistent practice schedule at the time, that outdoor play is so good for them. And it doesn't have to be something structured. You don't have to go and sign them up for a sport or some sort of an activity in order to get this. It can literally be as easy as send them out the back door to play for 30 minutes before dinner, send them back out 30 minutes after dinner. If they're in elementary school, they're getting opportunities for PE several times a week. So they have some opportunities during the day as well. They've got those recess times. Our middle school and high school kids don't have that, right? So making sure that they're able to get outside, get some fresh air, even if it's take a family walk, play with younger siblings or neighbors, things like that. Those are all good ideas. Eating well, having a balanced diet. If our kids are not getting the nutrients that they need, they're going to feel tired, which then starts that cycle of I'm cranky, I don't want to be around people, that sort of thing. Making sure they're drinking enough water through the day. This can be a challenge for kids at school. I know for the most part, all schools really strongly encourage kids to bring their own water bottles so that they have access to that water all day long and can make sure that they're getting that nutrition that they need. We've got breakfast and lunch options at school. I mean, there's lots of things through the school that are available to make sure that kids are getting the food that they need during the school day, but then making sure they've just got that balanced diet is important. And relationships. I mentioned this a moment ago, but making sure that they have lasting, so not, I'm friends with this person this week, I'm friends with this other person the next week, but lasting relationships that feel secure, and a mix of peer relationships, people their own age, and relationships with kids that are older than them are great. Kids that are younger than them, there's so much value in that kind of mentor-mentee relationship, letting someone speak into their lives in a positive way, and then teaching them to turn around and speak into a younger child's life in a positive way. That's really a great opportunity to learn so many skills. And then also looking at relationships with adults. So where are you connected as a family, that there are good, positive adults, share your family's values and ideals, that, you feel comfortable having this adult speak into your child's life and be somebody that your child can count on. But fostering those relationships and really understanding that they need people beyond just the four walls of our home. So a list of some ideas of things that your family can do together, because spending time together, building those relationships, getting some physical activity, all the stuff we just talked about, it can sometimes feel overwhelming when we have a busy schedule and we're not sure how to fit it in. So how do we make sure that we are doing things just on a normal basis, things that we can fit into our lives that we know are going to be helping contribute to our child's good, strong mental health? Eating dinner together, making dinner a priority. So I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, I usually introduce myself a little bit more. We have 5 kids. We are a blended family, so not everyone is home every night. Our schedules are definitely crazy. 2 of our kids are involved in more competitive sports, and then the other 2 are kind of seasonal sports at the Y kind of thing. And then we have a 3-year-old who just wants to be involved in everything. So it would be really easy for us to say, okay, this day is crazy. You're here, I'm there, those people are here, everybody figure out dinner, right? But we really have made it a priority that regardless of what time we have to eat, we will eat together. So sometimes we're eating dinner at 4:00 in the afternoon and coming home and people are having a snack before bed later. But or we're having a snack at 4:00 in the afternoon and we're eating that together around the table. We have just said to ourselves, for our family, sitting down at the table together every single day is going to be something that we won't compromise on. That's where the best conversation happens, that and right before bed, right? So thinking about how you can make that a priority in your day can change so many things as far as just communication and connectedness within your family. Take advantage of car time. And this is true for all age kids, but especially adolescents. There's something about driving in the car where that the walls can fall a little bit. So, if you're a mom and you're driving, you can't see, obviously we've got the rear view mirror, but we're not looking directly at our child's face. They don't have to be making eye contact with us. They don't have to be feeling that uncomfortableness if it's a tough conversation. They can even be doing something else and still continue to talk to us. There's just something a little freeing about having a conversation in the car. Adolescents are more likely to talk in situations like that than when you sit them down on the couch and say, okay, let's have a conversation about your math class. Whereas if it's in the car, it feels a little more relaxed, right? Like, hey, tell me about what's going on in math lately. I noticed your grade went down a little bit. Like, you want to talk about it? Doesn't feel as threatening, right? Family meetings are another great way that your family can engage, can connect with each other, can work on mental health. Family meetings can look lots of different ways. They can happen for some families. They happen weekly. For our family, we do once a month. We share things that are going well in our lives personally. We share things that are going well, we feel like, within our family. For a while, there was lots of fighting when they were playing together. And so that was something we were really working on. And so they were sharing things, I noticed that last weekend we did a really great job of playing without getting in a fight. Or we have 2 boys and 3 girls. The 2 boys share a room. Hey, we were able to clean up our, all of our Legos and we didn't argue with each other. And, they're able to celebrate the accomplishments that they feel like matter within our family. And then we're able to talk about things that have come up. Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, we're planning this, family weekend getaway, or we've got company coming in town. Let's talk about what we can do with them. Sometimes it's something a little bit more serious, maybe an issue that's going on within the family. But it's just a great way to help kids learn to dialogue, to sit and listen and receive information, also to be able to share ideas. And then it's a great opportunity for us as parents to model how we respond to what they have to say. So when they're celebrating something that they think is going well, they're looking for how we respond to that, right? So we want to make a big deal about that. We want to tell them how proud we are that they've noticed that, and encourage them to keep up that great choice that they're making. And if they're talking about something they're struggling with, they're looking for how we're going to react to that as well. So telling them that we hear them, validating their feelings and their emotions, offering our assistance, letting them know, hey, I'm here if you need me. You and your brother are having a hard time getting along. If you need some suggestions, or feel like you want some help from Dad and I navigating this relationship, we'd be happy to help you. Let us know. But they still feel like they have some ownership and some accountability in that. Game nights, kind of flip the tables here. Family meetings, a little bit more serious, right? A little more intentional with the way you're communicating. Game night, just a chance to have fun, a chance for you to laugh as a family. Maybe you let kids invite their friends to come over. Maybe we stick with just our family. Again, it can happen weekly, monthly, however that works for you. But setting aside on the calendar time for game night is awesome. Even up all the way up through high school, I would say, when they come home from college or wherever they're living, continuing to do that and just have fun together. Dates with kids individually is another great idea. When you have a family of 5, one-on-one time doesn't happen all the time, right? Or near as often as I wish that it could. So we take our kids on individual dates. Sometimes they cost money, sometimes they don't. It can be as simple as going and playing at the park. But it's time that they know, hey, my parent is investing in me because I matter as a person, not just as this clump of kids that goes everywhere together as the family, right? Weekly check-in time, just being intentional as a parent to kind of stop once a week and say, hey, how was school this past week? What are you looking forward to next week? Whatever that looks like for your family, but just that quick touching base, asking, how can I support you this week? What do you need help with? For my family, we talk about what are ways we can be praying for you this week as you go into school or your sports activity or that kind of thing. So those are just a few ideas. There's lots of other things that you could do as a family, but hopefully there's some ideas you can take away there. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, what if we think something might be wrong? We, feel like we've been going along and things are fine, and all of a sudden we've noticed a bit of a difference in our child. So it's important that we keep those lines of communication with our child open, talk to them, but talk with the intent of listening and understanding their perspective, and not with the intent of responding to everything that they have to say. So it may be that you ask them, you begin talking and they share some stuff with you that it's going to take some time for you to process. It's okay to say, man, I am so happy that you shared this with me. That was really a lot for you to carry. It sounds like you're really hurting, or it sounds like you're really struggling. And I see that. And I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. Do you have some ideas right now about things that maybe I could do to help? Do you want help? Do you want me to brainstorm some things that maybe I could do to help? Give them those options. Help them continue to feel like they have some control over their life, over how they're feeling, over the things that they're sharing, and just continue to listen and really, truly want to understand. Have a support system. And we can't create a support system once there's a crisis, right? So we have to have one before the crisis happens. So who do we know around us? Do we have friends? Do we have neighbors, people that we can count on? Do we know who the school's counselor, our child's counselor at school that we can reach out to? Knowing where you can go to find resources within the community if you need them. Not that you have to have them all at your fingertips now, but do you know where you would go if you did need some resources? Check in with their teachers, with their coaches, with other adults that they interact with when they're not with you, and just ask what they're noticing. Have they noticed a change in their behavior or their mood, or, maybe their schoolwork has had a change? And then for us as parents, just looking for, if we're worried that something might be wrong, looking for changes in their mood or their diet, changes in their sleep patterns, changes in time that they spend doing things they enjoy. For instance, maybe they constantly were drawing before and now they're not ever picking up their pencil and sketch pad. Or they, were loving being into sports and all of a sudden they don't want to go out for the team, or they want to quit. Those are signs that there might be something going on that we want to address and help them work through. So sometimes for parents, it can be hard to know how much we share with the child's teacher. And I've walked both ends of this. Hundreds and hundreds of students through my classroom in 18 years, and lots of conversations with families that were going through stuff. And as a parent, having stuff come up that my family's gone through as well. So how do we know how much to share, how to share? Do teachers even want to know? And I am going to speak for all teachers for just one moment. And I'm going to say that yes, teachers want to know what is going on with your child, so that they can help them. They want to know if there's something impacting their students outside of school, because that's going to impact their lives in the classroom as well. So I encourage you to be open and honest with your child's teacher. It doesn't mean that you have to share everything, right? And depending on what the situation is, it might be appropriate for you to ask your child permission before you speak to their teacher. And we've done this with our 6th grader. He has had some issues this year with another child in school. And when we are discussing these things, I always make sure to say, is it okay with you if we talk to your teacher about this and get his perspective? Would you feel comfortable with that? And there have been a couple times that he said, no, I don't really want you to. I'm very careful never to ask that question in a time where if he says no, that doesn't matter, I'm going to reach out anyway. So, depending on what it is, you may just say, hey, I want to give you a heads up. I'm going to let your teacher know what's going on. I feel like we need to bring them into the loop, or, however you word that, but it's okay to tell them as well. So sometimes maybe we want to ask permission. Sometimes maybe we need to just give them a heads up it's going to happen. And, I think teachers have a really unique position in a child's life, because we often see things that are very different than what parents see at home. In fact, I was talking to a kindergarten teacher today, and she said, it's amazing how often at those fall conferences, the first time we're really able to, sit down face to face and chat with the parents after we've gotten to know the kids for the first quarter, and I'm praising what a leader they are and how well behaved they are. And so often parents are like, that's my kid, that can't make their bed and is, I have to tell 3 and 4 times to do things at home. So it's not unusual for teachers to see a different side of your child, or they come to school and they're very quiet and at home they never stop talking, or vice versa. So I think that it's really valuable to ask the teacher, what are you seeing? Open that door for communication and letting the teacher know that you really value their insight. You trust them as a professional that sees your child for a significant amount of time every day. And then I think it's okay if there are things that you really feel like would help at school to let the teacher know that. And I'm going to give you some ideas on the next slide of how you might be able to communicate that. But, if there's things that you feel like they could do to support your child at school, let them know, give them those ideas. I think that's helpful, instead of making the assumption that the teacher automatically knows what to do in that situation, or wouldn't want the feedback from parents, because I think they'd be very welcoming of that. So these are a couple suggestions. And again, remember, this will all be up on the district website, so you can take a look later if you need to, but I'm just going to read them real quick to you. Couple different ways that you can address this with your child's teacher. So remember, you want to identify the problem, you want to seek the teacher's perspective, and then you want to offer ideas to help if there are some that you have to offer at this point. And this can go with a wide variety of things that you might need to touch base with the teacher about. So I've been noticing some changes with my child's behavior at home. I wanted to make you aware. She's been struggling to get to sleep at night, been more irritable and short-tempered with her siblings than usual, and is spending more time alone than she typically does. So I've identified the problem. These changes have me concerned about her. When you have a moment, can you share with me if you've noticed any changes at school? We're seeking the teacher's perspective. If you also are seeing some changes, perhaps we could schedule a time to meet and see if we can brainstorm ways to support her together. Thank you for your time. Offering ideas to help. It's not a suggestion of something the teacher can do beyond, hey, if you're noticing this, can we work together and maybe see if we can help her? The second one, I wanted to let you know that my child's best friend moved away last week and he's been very sad. I know in time he will make some new close friends, but for him right now, that doesn't seem possible. We've identified the problem. Along with letting you know that he may be a bit more down than normal, I was hoping you might be able to casually encourage him with a smile or a compliment. I am letting them know some ideas, some ways that the teacher could help. If there are some boys in class that he gets along well with, and it's possible, I would love your help in encouraging those friendships. Maybe playing at recess, sitting together at lunch. Thank you for your time and effort in helping him through this hard time. I know my child well enough to know when his teacher stops and smiles at him or says something kind to him, that goes a long way. So letting her or him know that as well, that's important. So those are just a couple ideas of ways that you can begin that conversation with your child's teacher. And then speaking your child's love language. So I have listed out some ideas for teachers about what they can do. Love languages are huge. And as adults, I think a lot of us are familiar with that. We talk about that in our marriages or in adult relationships, but knowing that our kids have a primary love language that they speak is really valuable as well. And helping them feel connected, safe, and secure based on how we are interacting with them is great and important. So these are some ideas of things teachers can do depending on the love language of your child. So that may be something that if you have to, if you're sending an email about an issue, maybe you could suggest one of these things based on what you know about your child. So for quality time, things like eating lunch together, maybe having a quick chat at recess or between classes. For physical touch, a pat on the back, high five, or a fist bump as they come into the room or they leave, or even in the middle of the day if they feel like they need it. Receiving gifts, maybe a special sticker, leaving a note on their desk, a small gift or token of some sort for an accomplishment that they've had. Words of affirmation would be a genuine and specific compliment, things beyond great job, proud of you, but what was a great job? What did you notice about me? And are you telling me that? Acts of service, allowing the child to help with something around the room or maybe go help a younger student. They also really appreciate people providing acts of service for them. So maybe offering to help them with a task that seems, significantly challenging to them. Then as parents, this is the same kind of list, things you can do to help your child depending on their love language. So going and having lunch with them at school, or going on a one-on-one date, just spending time together before bed for those quality time kiddos. Physical touch, giving lots of hugs and cuddles on the couch, making sure that you're gentle with your touches for your physical touch kids. Wrestling can be really positive for those kids as well. And, they're the kids that when they were younger, a lot of times really like to roughhouse. They were crawling all over you and using you as a jungle gym, that kind of thing. Receiving gifts, maybe leaving them a surprise in their room, or surprising them with a small token or a card, again, for an accomplishment, or maybe just because you love them. Words of affirmation, notice what they're doing well and tell them. Comment on their character traits. What makes you proud of who they are as an individual? Help them see that you really notice their uniqueness and that you're excited by that as their parent. Acts of service, similar to what I said for teachers, allowing them to help around the house, offer to help them clean their room or do something together, do something for them without telling them, surprise them with some help that you've done. Maybe you've done a chore for them because they have a really busy day that day, or they have a big game coming up. So maybe you help them out with something that typically is their responsibility. So again, just a few ideas. There's lots and lots of things out there, resources that you can get for love languages for children as well. So that brings us to the end of our official presentation. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.